I was the Grant family's heir's executive assistant, top of my field in skill and work ethic, and still my colleagues sniped at me because I was easy on the eyes. It all came to a head the night the heir took a work call while flirting with his girlfriend at a cocktail bar. The next day, she showed up at the office and slapped me. I laughed coldly, ripped my badge off, and hurled it in Ethan Grant's face. "You sick little show-off, making trouble for everyone," I said. "Consider this your firing, you useless boss. Hope your company shutters tomorrow and you end up begging under an overpass the day after." We were neck and neck with Clark Capital in a bid, and then a woman, perfectly made up and dressed to the nines, burst into my office, grabbed my hair, and slapped me across the face. Blake Turner, who shared my office, arched an eyebrow and, instead of breaking things up, got excited and started recording on his phone. The woman looked furious and was about to hit me again when I reacted, twisted her arm, and pinned her to the desk. One hand held her head down. Before I could ask questions, she struggled and spat out, "Serena Cole, you bitch! You only know how to sleep with the boss. How dare you hit on my boyfriend?" My annoyance sharpened. Of course, Ethan Grant's girlfriend. I was about to shoot back when Ethan burst in and jabbed a finger at my nose. "Serena Cole, let go of Chloe Mercer!" Work had beaten the life out of me long ago. Dealing with an idiot boss was the last straw. I yanked the woman's hair, kicked her in the butt with a stiletto, and sent her stumbling into Ethan Grant's arms. He glared at me and swept her into the executive office. I calmed myself by thinking about my nearly seven-figure salary and forcing my breath slow. Blake snorted, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Told you people should keep their feet on the ground. Those who climb by sleeping with the boss are bound to sink in the gutter." No one answered him. Everyone else was being polite because I was there. I couldn't take it. I flung the files on my desk down, strode over to Blake, and slapped him hard. He staggered, dazed. Before he knew it, I had him by the collar and dragged him into the lobby. The executive assistant's office was right next to administrative. I kicked Blake to the floor and leaned over him, snarling, "Say one more time, whoever said people rise by sleeping with the boss?" "I've been at Grant Holdings since graduation," I told him, "working my ass off for 7 years to get to this spot, and you toss out a filthy rumor to wipe away my effort?" I grabbed the little fish tank the admin had on her desk and smashed it over Blake Turner's head. The admins rushed in to separate us. Ethan came out with his girlfriend, surveyed the mess, and frowned. The admin started to explain, and Ethan cut her off impatiently. "What's the big deal? Serena Cole, it's just gossip. You're not exactly losing any skin here. Besides, you rose too fast. A little talk is to be expected. Get over it." The girlfriend rolled her eyes and snorted. I felt my hands go ice cold. There was no point staying at this company. If I was going to fire the boss, I might as well burn the place down. I stared at Ethan until he looked uncomfortable, then stepped forward and slapped him hard. I'd done what every overworked employee wanted to do. I exhaled, smiling, watching every face in the room go wide. Even Ethan stared at me, unbelieving. I flipped my hair, planted my hands on my hips, and jabbed my finger at his nose. "Ethan Grant, you incompetent excuse for a leader," I said. "I spent 7 years clawing my way up to executive assistant. You have the nerve to tell me I rose too fast? Name one major contract this company landed that wasn't because of me, Serena Cole. You drink and flirt at bars while the real work gets done. And when things get serious, you tuck tail and call your father." I wasn't even going to bother pretending I cared about discretion. "Do you really think I stuck around because I secretly fancied you and liked cleaning up your messes? Get real. If your dad hadn't been handing out paychecks fat enough, I'd have left years ago. You do nothing but chase skirts. This year alone, I've had 3 of your Grant wife hopefuls at the clinic for abortions." The admin staff went pale and stared at their boss as if they couldn't believe it. Ethan's girlfriend pushed him and demanded, "Ethan Grant, weren't you the one who said I was your first love?" I sneered at the pair, tore the badge off my neck, and flung it into Ethan's face. "You sick little show-off, making trouble for everyone. I'm firing you, you useless boss. Hope your company folds tomorrow and you end up begging under an overpass the day after." After unleashing that tirade, I decided I was done. I grabbed my bag and, chest out, walked past my stunned coworkers and out of the building. News traveled fast among New York City's upper crust, especially when it involved the Grant family, who were locked in a bitter fight with Clark Capital. The cocktail bar at midday was empty. I settled in and chatted cheerfully with the bartender. Maya Ross barreled in, all breathless, but stopped dead when she saw me sipping Sprite and laughing with the bartender. She plopped down beside me. "Serena, you've been blacklisted by Ethan Grant," she said, panicked. I raised an eyebrow, amused. Blacklisted? Ethan Grant really likes drama, doesn't he? Who does he think he is, the heir of New York City? Maya blinked at my nonchalance. I opened my phone to a message from one of the admin girls. "Baby, Richard Grant said they're in a bidding war with Clark Capital and he understands your pressure," it read. "If you go apologize to Richard Grant, he'll pretend today never happened." I read it and almost laughed. Apologize? I tapped Ethan's profile and, with Maya watching horrified, held down the voice button and let loose a string of 3-word curses. After a minute of warm, heartfelt messages to Ethan Grant, I tossed my phone aside, crossed my legs on the bar stool, and let the bartender, admiring the show, make me a bright, in-your-face cocktail on the house. I smiled and took it. Maya stared speechless for a full 5 minutes before she recovered enough to say, "I actually believe you. You aren't just having a tantrum. You really don't want to work at Grant Holdings anymore." I gave a dry little laugh. "I've been at Grant 7 years. I earned what I have. Ethan's been insecure for 2 years, scared I'll eclipse him and leave him with the title and no substance. So he let rumors fly and kept dumping his personal mess on me until I couldn't do my job." My eyes darkened. He forgot one thing. 70% of Grant family's big deals were closed because of me. Serena Cole leaves Grant Holdings and she still has the chops. But Grant Holdings without Serena Cole is going to crash. Maya saw I was steady and stopped worrying about whether I actually fired my boss. Since she was there, she ordered a drink and sat down. Leaving Grant wasn't a whim. Ethan had set me up to take the heat to make me quit, so he wouldn't have to pay proper severance and could keep control. Now he wanted to fake concern and beg me to stay? Please, I might as well use this chance to give him one more piece of my mind. When we drained our drinks, I brushed myself off to leave, but Maya grabbed my arm, glowing at her phone. "This is fast," she said. "Vivian Shaw of the Shaw Group in Seattle heard you fired Ethan Grant and wants to scoop you up." "Vivian Shaw?" I raised an eyebrow. Maya read the message aloud. "Vivian says she doesn't care if Ethan blacklisted you. If you join Shaw Group, she'll protect you. She'll give you a 20% raise now and another 10% next year." Do the math on my salary, and I agreed on the spot. The only daughter of Seattle's Shaw Group, future head of the company, would be more than useful to me. Vivian added me on the spot, said she was nearby at school and would come straight over. I smiled back and, with Maya, toasted to the seamless arrival of a new job. Vivian arrived at the cocktail bar and immediately discussed the role. She said she knew my reputation and my capabilities, and that she had just come to New York and needed someone like me for her NYC branch. I smiled and gave her a quick warning. "You know why I'm leaving, Ethan, right?" Vivian was blunt. "Yeah, Ethan's insecure and petty. He pushed you out because he was afraid you'd overshadow him. He's slimy. I won't be that way." She seemed to know exactly what I was worried about and promised. "I'm still in school. Running the Shaw Group's NYC branch has been a stretch. I won't nitpick your work. You run my will on the ground. As long as you steer the ship in the right general direction, I won't interfere." She took a folder from her assistant and handed it to me. Inside was a contract granting me shares and even a brochure for a property near the office. "Shaw Group doesn't mistreat talent," Vivian said, smiling. "Come on board and I'll give you equity and buy you a place near the company to solve your commute." That's my sincerity. The cocktail bar quieted. The only sound was the bartender tinkling ice. I looked her in the eye, extended my right hand and said, "So boss, when do we sign?" The next time I saw Ethan was at the bid presentation with Clark Capital. Shaw Group and Clark Capital were close. Vivian had arranged for me to train with Clark Capital. I walked in with the Clark Capital CEO and ran through the materials in the elevator, where we bumped into Ethan and his assistant. I stood beside Nathan Clark, double-checking the slides we were about to present, when Ethan sneered without warmth. "Nathan Clark big-hearted enough to take in traitors, huh?" I glanced up, my look razor-sharp at Ethan and his sleazy Blake Turner. Nathan put a hand on my shoulder and turned with a polite, practiced smile. "Richard Grant shouldn't worry," he said. "I love talent. Besides, Serena resigned because of workplace harassment. That's all the more reason to bring her on." When he finished, the elevator dinged, and Nathan Clark hauled me out. I took the chance to spin around and flip Ethan Grant the bird. Nathan smiled at me and murmured, "You don't have to waste time on him. Our proposal and pricing are strong. At the pitch, we'll wipe that smug look off his face." I couldn't help myself. Forget Ethan Grant. It's his assistant who's the real piece of work. He started the rumors about me at Grant Holdings, and after I taught him a lesson, of all things, they promoted him once I left. Nathan arched an eyebrow, thoughtful. "If that's the case, let me take care of them properly." Because this was the internet sector, the pitch wasn't the old-fashioned kind. It needed a PowerPoint, a tight delivery, and on-the-spot negotiation. At Clark Capital, Nathan pulled up a PowerPoint he'd prepared in advance. His script and his delivery were flawless. Even I had to admire him inwardly. By contrast, Grant Holdings used to rely on me to do all that work and slap Ethan Grant's name on it. Without me, Ethan had zero experience. His slides were slapdash, and his presentation was halting. He clearly hadn't bothered to understand his own product. I smirked in the audience. Sure enough, without me, Ethan had no standing to challenge Clark Capital. He wanted power but didn't have the competence. He was a joke. The outcome was obvious. Under Ethan Grant's sour face, Nathan Clark shook hands with the client-side director and suggested we all have dinner together that evening. The director gladly agreed. Ethan, aware of the director's clout, could only force a smile and accept. At the dinner table, I sat next to Nathan. Opposite, Ethan Grant sized me up with ill intent, then leaned toward the man at the head of the table and said, "Nathan Clark's little secretary has no sense. Can't you see the director's glass is empty? Why hasn't she refilled it?" Nathan and I exchanged a look. I picked up the bottle, stood, and smiled as I topped off the director's glass. Ethan pressed on. "Only pouring for the director? Don't stop there. Toast him." My fingers tightened around the bottle. I just wanted to smash it over Ethan's head. Nathan's expression cooled at Ethan's words. "Ethan, that's out of line," he said. "If it were my assistant, I'd have something to say. Who are you to bark orders here? Besides, I told everyone before we came, Jisoo isn't drinking tonight. Are you trying to use the director to make things difficult?" He took the bottle from my hand and set it down heavily on the table. For a second, the private dining room fell quiet. I bent my head to hide the smug smile creeping onto my face and returned to my seat. Ethan glanced at the director, whose expression was hard to read, and then spat at his assistant. "You clueless idiot. Go toast the director." He switched instantly into an obsequious face and apologized to the director. Blake Turner took the cue, head down, and went around pouring for everyone. When it was Nathan's turn, she covered her cup with her hand. The rhinestones on her nails caught the warm light of the room. "You're not qualified to pour for me," she said, leaving Blake squirming as she sat back down and peeled a shrimp from the plate. I watched Ethan's perfect mask crack and forced myself not to laugh. Nathan's family ties to the director made it impossible to humiliate her. Family connections trumped pride. Ethan, though, had never done his background homework and had laid himself bare. No wonder he was a clown. I felt a flash of irritation. If I'd known he'd use me like a workhorse, I'd have left sooner.